Hi, I'm Lindsay, and this is my little YouTube channel that I abandoned for a long time, but now I'm kind of making some videos because I recently had weight loss surgery, and I got a lot of help from YouTube while I was researching and preparing to get weight loss surgery myself. So I thought it was the best platform, even though I'm more of an Instagram person, to do these. I think it's kind of the easiest format. So today I want to talk about just the whole planning for surgery. I had what's called a Sadi, also known as like a duodenal switch. It's basically like half the first part you get a gastric sleeve, and then there's some bowel rearrangement stuff. So that's what I did, and that was 4 or 5 days ago, so I am very barely post-op, but I wanted to talk about the whole experience of pre-op, just coming to the decision to have surgery, and then the meeting with the doctor and what were the things that I needed to do and what did the insurance require. I was blessed to have insurance that did cover the surgery. That's not always the case for everyone. I know some people, because of that, look in alternative ways of getting the surgery, like going to Mexico, which I used to think was really shady, but now I've since realized that that's actually a legit thing. But thankfully I was able to have it right here where I live, and I want to tell you guys about it. So if that is interesting to you, keep watching, and while I talk, I'm going to be doing my makeup. So this is me from the future. So we're gonna go back in time to before I had done this makeup. The reason for that is just that's kind of what makes me feel comfortable. It was something I wanted to do anyway, so I decided I'll do my makeup and I'll chat with you. I don't mention any of the products or what I'm doing, but if you are interested, I will try to put them down in the description box. I have a lot of other videos on makeup, so if that's your thing, go head over and watch those. This one is more of a talking video about weight loss surgery. So this was long, so let's just get into it, okay? Let's go. I think it was August, and I just had this thought pop into my head about weight loss surgery, and it was never something I had ever considered for myself. I had some preconceived notions. I was a little judgy about it. Not that like if a friend got it, I would be mean or say anything mean, but just like in my mind, I just would be like, oh, they must hate themselves so much that they to go and get weight loss surgery. I didn't get it. So I decided to look into it a little bit, and I remembered I did have a friend who was considering it, and then she ended up getting pregnant like right before the surgery, and so obviously they couldn't continue with the surgery. And then she went on to, you know, have a baby, and then a few years later she like lost a good chunk of weight on her own, and like I was just so happy and proud of her, and so I assumed naively that she was like, that she would be feeling that she had dodged a bullet and not doing the weight loss surgery, and that she was able to kind of do it on her own, and thank goodness she didn't put herself through that. And anyways, so that was like kind of my thinking is how she would be. So I reached out to her and I just kind of asked her like, hey, you know, I asked her some questions about it, and she ended up saying to me something along the lines of how it was still something that was on her mind and something she might do down the line. And that really surprised me because I thought that she would be relieved that she hadn't done it. So that got me even more curious. So I asked her who the doctor was she was seeing, and got that information and just looked it up. And there was like a seminar from that doctor. Since COVID was going all on, they couldn't do them in person, which was kind of in some ways a blessing because I was able to right that second instead of waiting for like a seminar to happen. I was able to watch like an old one that he had recorded on weight loss surgery. So I'm watching the seminar and I'm realizing that like everything I thought about weight loss surgery was, most of it was wrong. I just didn't really know what I was talking about. And I started to feel like, okay, you know what, actually I'm kind of interested in this. And that was really surprising to me. And I, by the time I'd finished the video though, I think there's a part of me that knew I was going to do it. So I started chatting with my husband about it, and he was surprisingly open to the idea too, which also surprised me. I thought he would be like, no, why don't you just try eating healthier and maybe exercise more, like in a gentle way. He's not really like, he's awesome. I have the best husband. Anyways, so I decided that I wanted to look into this more. So I made an appointment with that office, and then I immediately started doing like as much research as I did on my own, specifically YouTube. And at first I was looking up other patients who had had it done just to kind of see their experience. And then I started looking at other doctors on YouTube. There's a lot of doctors, maybe not a lot, but there's a good chunk of doctors on YouTube, and I found a couple that I really, really liked who talk about just like give really informative videos. And so I watched hours and hours and hours and hours. Like, I'm not joking. Like, that's what I would do with my free time. If I was watching my kids, if I was being a mom, I would often have it like I wouldn't be able to look at the video, but I would have my headphones in while I was like making them lunch or whatever. And anyways, I just was like constantly listening to these different physicians talk about weight loss surgery and how, just how powerful it is, and how, I don't know, it just, you can go look for it for yourself. Like, I'm not gonna just recite what they said, but basically it changed my mind and made me know further that this is something that I wanted to do. So, I had my first appointment with my doctor. That went really well, and we were kind of on the same page on what surgery I wanted. I'm really glad I found him too, because the surgery that I got, it's kind of shortly called the Sadi. It's basically a duodenal switch, but kind of a slightly modified version. And it's not a procedure that a lot of offices do. I had never heard of it. And I felt like that was just the perfect balance for me, because I didn't feel like a gastric sleeve was going to be strong enough, because my BMI is like 60. And so I knew I needed something stronger than the sleeve, and the bypass honestly scared the crap out of me. And as I researched it, it's less scary than I thought it was, but it just seemed more intense than what I wanted to do. And some of so there's some complications that can happen with the bypass, that kind of are like, it's more prone to like ulcers and other things, and the dumping syndrome. And anyways, there's just some things that made me nervous about the bypass, although I do think that would be something that I would probably have still considered if I didn't know about the duodenal switch. But anyways, so my doctor's on the same page. He liked that surgery for me too, so I felt like that was a good sign. So then the next step after that is kind of finding out what, if anything, your insurance will cover. So I had known that before I even went to the doctor's office, that I did have, thankful, I feel really grateful, I did have insurance that was going to cover the surgery. I just needed to meet my deductible, and then the rest would be covered. I kind of have a high deductible plan, and so I have to pay everything out of pocket until I meet my deductible, but then after that it's all covered. So that's kind of my insurance situation. Every insurance is so different, so I don't want to go into too much detail about that, just because it will totally vary. So their office had a person whose whole job was to kind of be like a liaison between the insurance and the doctor's office, and to try to figure out what the requirements were. Okay, sorry, my lights were bugging out, so I just fixed that. So anyways, so this person figured out what it was that I needed to do, and so I had this big long list, and they were things like I needed 6 months of doctor, some sort of doctor assisted diet. So I needed to show that I had been to a doctor 6 times in 6 different months, but they didn't need to be consecutive, and they could be anytime within the last 2 years. So I actually had a few doctor's office appointments that qualified for that because I had gone to my doctor and we talked about weight and kind of like, you know, like how to manage that and stuff. So some of those counted. I actually did not have any weight loss requirements. Some do, some don't. Mine did not. And then the other thing after that was there's a bunch of just different doctor's appointments that you need. Like I had to have an EKG. I didn't need to have a sleep study, but that was because I had already recently done one. I have sleep apnea, which I found out last year. So that helped me qualify and also made it so I didn't need to do that portion. So there's just like a bunch of doctor's offices. I also needed like a psych eval. It was a lot. So I had to kind of plan out all of those and get those done and checked off. And at the same time, I was also, one of the things I was working on is I wanted to, like, if I was going to do this, I wanted, like, this is like a one-time thing. Like, you can't do this, you don't get a do-over with this. So I didn't want to waste this. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. So I was doing a lot of research on, you know, how do you change habits? How do you, basically, like, how do you change? And habits was a big one, a big part of that. So I have done, like, I read a book. I think I have it right here, actually. This book is so good. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. So this book was great. I had the audio version and then I bought the hard copy because I just loved it so much. And I started tracking habits that I wanted to create and change, and I just started kind of applying the principles of that book and some other research on that just to kind of further help me be successful in this. So I also wanted to work on some of my like emotional eating because I don't want like this, like if I'm gonna do this, I want it to work. Like I am done messing around with diets and stuff that don't work, and then I fall back into old habits. So I knew I needed to work on my emotional eating because that is a big comfort thing for me. So I also got, you know, books and YouTube videos and stuff on that, and I worked on that, and that's still very much a work in progress. So I'm by no means like, am I healed from that? I'm still working on that. I have a workbook. I got an intuitive eating book and workbook to kind of help work through some of the feelings I have that are tied to food. And I do think I will start seeing a counselor too as I go through all of this, just to really make sure I'm able to cope. It's been hard to, in the pre-op and post-op now, to not coping with food is not an option. Like it's not. Like I'm on liquids. There's not much, there's nothing I can do to, that comfort has been taken away, and that's a little shocking, borderline traumatizing, if I'm being honest. But that's a video for another day. But anyways, I also worked on like my spiritual health. Again, that's a kind of work in progress, but I wanted to just attack this from every angle I possibly could. So I knew that I needed to build up my strength and build up my habits and make habits that could be maintained. And so that's what I've been doing. I'm not perfect by any means. I do have this little notebook that has a chart. Honestly, I could have just printed out. There's so many like habit tracker things, but I just sort of like track habits here daily. They're just simple things like, you know, reading my scriptures, journaling, saying prayers, using my mouth guard, because that was not a good habit for me, but that's, you know, important for my health. I have a night mouth guard. Like for a while it was like a certain amount of steps or exercise, and I had a bedtime goal and stuff, and it was just kind of simple, very simple little habits to get me kind of in a more disciplined way of living, but without being, you know, not, if I try to change too drastically, I've learned that backfires terribly. So this was my attempt to kind of ease my way into this mindset of you know, change and improving myself. And anyways, I'm rambling, but the point is I did a lot of work on myself. I'm still doing a lot of work on myself. I'm a work in progress. So it took months, and it was a big process, and it took a lot of advocating for myself. And sometimes my doctor's office, I'll be honest, was a little hard to reach, and that was super annoying. But maybe in a weird way, maybe it was kind of good, because it forced me to know that this was something that I was willing to fight for, that was something I really wanted. And so I did. And eventually I was able to get everything submitted. And then I had to wait, and it was right around the holidays. So I knew that waiting the 7 to, or the like, I think they have exactly like 10 business days to respond in that time period. That's my insurance. That's just how it works. And of course it was right over Thanksgiving, so that added like so many business days. There were so many days because there were so many not business days. Anyways, it was not fun to wait. And I heard back, and I was denied. And I was not happy about that. So they told me that the reason that I got denied was not because I didn't meet the requirements for surgery, but they did not like the way that my doctor's office coded the surgery I wanted, which is really like annoying and weird. But basically they're just being like super picky, and they didn't like that they called it a Sadi, but then when they called it like a modified duodenal switch, then they were fine. It's literally the same thing. So that was annoying. My doctor like had to get on the phone with them, and they still denied it, and they said we had to resubmit it. So we resubmitted it, and then I got approved. The thing that was hard with that was I really wanted to do the surgery before the end of the year, because I had all these doctor's appointments, and so I purposely had basically met my deductible with all of these doctor's appointments. And then suddenly I had to wait until the new year and start at a zero deductible, which kind of sucked. Won't pretend that it didn't. So that was annoying. And it's fine though. I mean, I probably would have met my deductible this year too. Now it's met. Had the surgery the end of January, so the deductible is met for the whole year. I can get whatever medical stuff I need without having to pay for anything. So that's kind of nice. But anyways, so that was kind of it. And then at that point I started, once I had a date, I started the pre-op diet, which again, those are going to be really different compared to, that one's based off of your doctor's office. And my doctor's office, their biggest thing was they wanted me to keep it extremely low carb. Like, we're talking 30 total grams of carbs a day, which is so little. I mean, because you're even having to count like vegetables as carbs. So like even like eating a salad, any vegetables you put on that salad, any lettuce you put on that salad, had not a ton, but a small amount of carbs that you had to take into account. So that was annoying and hard. And then the very last day was clear liquids only. So the clear liquids was hard for sure, definitely the hardest day of all. And then I had surgery, and that went well, and yeah, so here we are. I am like 4 or 5 days post-op now, and a lot of the pain has kind of gone down, which is good, so I'm feeling pretty good. And yeah, that's how I got approved for surgery. So I will finish this up. I'm almost done, and come back and say a few more things, and then I'll let you go on your merry way. I'm back. So I just finished up a little bit, and now I am all glammed and ready to take a walk around the block in my sweats that I did wash last night, so they're finally clean sweats, but this is like the only thing that's comfortable, and I spend 99% of my time without a bra on. So you're welcome for loving you guys enough to put on a bra. But anyways, ultimately, I hope that this is helpful for somebody, and that somewhere in my ramblings there was something that you needed. So without further ado, I'm gonna go, but it was fun doing this, and if you guys like this, maybe I'll keep doing a few of these videos where I just sort of chat about my experience with weight loss surgery, because I know I found them helpful when I was researching. Maybe somebody else will find mine helpful. Anyways, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye!